Last night at 8:48, the control tower sounded an alert, which alerts responders to respond to a report of an aircraft crash on or near the airport. That sets off an immediate response from the Airport Authority Fire Department, from the District of Columbia and Metropolitan Harbor Patrol fireboats and other fireboats on the river in order to support that type of operation. Very quickly, this call escalated. It became apparent, the responders realized that they had a plane crash and immediately escalated to a response that ultimately included about 300 people last night. These responders found extremely frigid conditions. They found heavy wind. They found ice on the water, and they're operated all night in those conditions.
Can you hear it,
I'd
Cam?
like to take a moment to acknowledge the agencies that responded in addition to DC Fire and EMS and Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority, Montgomery County Fire Department, the Prince George's County Fire Department, the Charles County Fire Department, the Baltimore County Police Department.
What's up, Cam?
The Anne Arundel County Fire Department, the Alexandria Fire Department, the Arlington County Fire Department, the Fairfax Fire Department, the Prince William Fire Department, the Baltimore City Police Department, the Maryland State Police, the Maryland Natural Resources Police, the Department of Defense, the Joint Base in Bowling Fire Department and the staff there, the U.S. Army, the U.S. Coast Guard, the United States Park Police, the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI, and the NTSB. Despite all those efforts, we are now at a point where we're
it's on the plane world travel
to a recovery operation.
Was a flight attendant? Oh, condolences.
We don't believe there are any survivors from this accident, and we have recovered 27
condolences, world-class traveler, on the loss of your friend.
The District Office of the Medical Examiner has lead on reuniting these bodies and these people with their loved ones, and we will continue to work to find all the bodies and collect them and reunite them with their loved ones. We should also acknowledge that the Virginia Medical Examiner and the Army Medical Examiner are involved in this operation and a very important part of getting people identified. So.
Our hearts are certainly with all of the crew in American Airlines, and we'll hear from CEO Isom.
Can you imagine?
Good morning. I'm Robert Isom, the CEO of American Airlines. I want to express my sincere condolences for the accident that happened at DCA last night. We're absolutely heartbroken for the family and loved ones of the passengers and crew members, and also for those that were on the military aircraft. Our focus right now
check
is
YouTube and see if this is going out on YouTube for me, please.
All of those involved and also the PSA Airlines team. This is devastating. We are all hurting incredibly. We urge any family and friends looking for information about their loved ones to call our designated helpline, and that's at 1-800-679-8215, 1-800-679-8215. And here's what I can share at this early stage. American Eagle Flight 5342, operated by PSA Airlines, traveling from Wichita, Kansas to Reagan National Airport, was involved in an accident just before 9 p.m. local time on final approach into Reagan National. It collided with a military aircraft on an otherwise normal approach. And at this time, we don't know why the military aircraft came into the path of the PSA aircraft. Flight 5342, a CRJ 700, was under the command of 4 crew members.
Thank you.
60 passengers, as you know, for a total of 64 people on board. In addition to local resources already here in DC, American Airlines has activated our care team, and that's a group of specialists that are trained to support these types of responses. These team members are on site or arriving soon. And additionally, we have members of our GO team that are on ground here in DC, and they're being deployed with resources to do everything that we can to take care of the needs of the families and
Where
the
did you
loved
get that
ones
from? I don't
other passengers and crew members. And
put it
that
out, but
is
I don't
our
usually.
sole
I like
focus.
to have
And
verifiable
we're so
information.
grateful for the first responders. that
Good morning,
are working through the
Queen.
night,
Good morning. How you
courageous
doing, Lily?
efforts.
Some night gazer.
We're actively working with local,
For those of y'all
state,
who
and
do not
federal
know,
authorities
this is
on
the
emergency response efforts.
live
and
press
closely
conference happening
coordinating
now in
with
connection with
TSA
the
Airlines as they cooperate
American airline
fully with the
flight that
NTSB
crashed
on the
with the.
investigation. I know that there are many questions.
Yeah,
And
I
at this
can.
early stage, I just won't be able to answer many, but we'll provide additional information.
I
as
see
it
that,
comes.
World Traveler,
Thank you.
and I saw it, but I don't want to say that and be wrong. That's my
I want to
opinion
introduce
from the
the
angle I
Metropolitan
saw.
Washington
I
Airports
wasn't sure.
Authority CEO Jack Potter. The authority manages Washington,
Yes.
Reagan Washington National,
Yes, it was,
and Dulles
Lily.
International.
Good morning and thank you, Mayor. First, let me begin by expressing our condolences for all the victims of this flight and for their families.
Miss
There's a lot of
Rose,
grieving going on.
greetings.
So we're very sympathetic to that. I want to echo what was said about the first responders. When there's a problem in this area, everybody drops everything and they rush to wherever the problem is. So I want to thank the chief, the entire team from Washington, D.C., but
Isn't
just
beautiful?
as important, the list of folks that the chief described. Federal authorities have been here en masse, and so a lot of effort was brought to bear. Unfortunately,
This flight
we
was
weren't able to
this
rescue
flight
anyone.
flew out of my state.
But we are in the recovery mode
It was
right
out of
now.
Wichita,
And
Kansas.
I just want to
Y'all know I live in
last
Kansas.
night, I expressed the fact that we hope to open at 11 o'clock today, and that is still the case. We're going to open the airport at 11 o'clock. And again, condolences to the families, and thanks to the many, many who are still out there working very, very hard to complete this recovery. Thank you, Mayor.
I do want to acknowledge that the Virginia Transportation Secretary is here, in addition to the Alexandria Mayor. And I will like to ask members of
No,
the
Lily,
Virginia
this Black Hawk did
congressional
not fall out the
delegation,
sky.
to the podium next.
It did
U.S.
not fall out the
Senator,
sky.
Mark
If you
Warner,
look at the
followed by
video,
Tim
this
Kaine, and
no,
Representative Don Beyer.
this did not fall out the sky.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to join with everyone else
What's
and
up?
express my condolences for the victims. For folks who don't live in the DMV, we are made up of a lot of jurisdictions. Reagan Airport's in Virginia. Across the river we have Maryland, obviously the district, but as been indicated by the chief, when tragedy happens,
Listen, Lily,
all those
what I
distinctions
said
between the
was,
various jurisdictions and our federal partners all
what I
disappear.
said was
And,
that this
I wanna again
Black
thank all
Hawk
the
did
first
not
responders.
fall out the
On
sky.
a personal note, I'll just add that
If you look at the video, I didn't say what they
Literally,
do
I
in the
know
past. I'm
I was
perfectly
coming
aware
back from the
of
district
the problems with the
from a
Black
dinner
Hawk.
to my home
This is just not
in
one of those
Midtown
cases.
Alexandria. And while I did not see the collision, I wondered. I'd never seen this many red lights streaming towards the airport and across the river in Maryland about this time.
So I'm going to focus on this. I want to focus on this, Lisa.
There'll be time to figure out.
I can talk about Bella and Pinky later,
in the
okay?
day. But
I
the
have
victims,
someone over here.
our condolences.
I have people
to
in here
the
that
first
lost
responders.
people on this
Thanks.
flight, and Bella and Pinky are not their primary concern right now.
The sorrow, thanks, and questions. So sorrow, as all have expressed, to the crew, to the passengers, to the soldiers, to their families, to their friends, to their loved ones, to people who are still trying to get information and unsure whether their loved ones have been lost. We offer our profound condolences to them and our sorrow for this tragedy. Thanks, I'll echo, Mayor, what you began with. When you see a challenge like this and you see people from so many different agencies, local, state, federal, with different uniforms, different badges, but working in such a coordinated way, even in the midst of a tragedy, it does give you a sense of appreciation and pride in people's willingness to come to the danger and work together. And I started to see that as a local official 30 years ago in Richmond, and definitely have seen it here. And then finally, questions. There are going to be a lot of questions, obviously, a lot of questions. And that's what the NTSB's job
They
is
haven't
to
given
be
us
an
any more
independent
information,
investigator of
unfortunately.
incidents
We're
like
trying
this.
to
And
find out just
they
like
are here.
everybody else.
We're in
I
dialogue with
understand
them
world
earlier
traveling.
today. They've been here since they got the alert, and they will be doing the work and playing lead in answering the many
understand.
questions that we have.
Like I
And
say,
that's as it should be.
condolences
It's
on
not
the
a
loss
time
of your
to
friend.
Speculate. It's a time to
You're a flight-
investigate.
you're a flight
and get
attendant too,
answers
right?
to the questions we need, and I have confidence that will be done. Thank you.
Following up on the Senator, I think grief, thanks, and service, with millions and millions of Americans traveling every year, we are all grieving, knowing that it could have been our loved ones, it could have been us. And our hearts go out to all those who have lost folks. In a most partisan place, also, I'm really thankful that Democrats and Republicans, people from all over, have come together to try to make sure that people are served. As a local representative, I want the families to know that our office is available to serve you in any way we possibly can through this time of grief and transition and loss. And then also just note that we're deeply grateful for the people who risked their lives last night on a moment's notice and spent the whole night on the river in the ice and the wind, serving us. And then finally, as Senator Warner noted, after the NTSB investigation, we've got to make sure that at the federal level and with the support of Virginia, Maryland, D.C., we're doing everything we can to make sure this does not happen again.
So with that, it's been said already that the National Transportation.
Without the ones like you working tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. No matter your industry, Grainger's here for you with professional-grade supplies. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Shift to a recovery effort. We expect the National Transportation Safety Board to provide briefings to the press later in the day. So at this point, we can take a few questions.
Let's get
Yes.
these questions.
Can you say without a shadow of a doubt?
Can y'all hear?
People are safe to fly.
What we can talk about today is what happened here with the collision of these vehicles.
What kind of
We
stupid-ass
said what
question
we
was
know,
that?
And that the National Transportation Safety Board continues to investigate. I don't know that any of us have been briefed on anything that would suggest any other aircraft are implicated. Yes,
You're still missing 30-plus people in the water. What are some of the challenges in recovering them right now?
Chief.
So the rescue operation, or the recovery operation goes on. It's a lot of touch and feel in the different parts of the plane or in the helicopter. And the crash area is a little spread out, so we've got some work to do. And I think it's a pretty normal type of situation. I don't think it's extraordinary.
How spread out is this debris field?
So the wind started blowing last night, so we've had debris travel from the airport down as far as the Wilson Bridge.
Mile-wise, how far is that?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Less than a mile.
This is a question for CEO Carter. You're going to open the airport at 11 o'clock this morning. How are you going to do that? And what impact is that going to have on operations, on passengers, on people's anxiety? How are we going to do this?
Well, we're going to open the airport at 11 o'clock. It's safe. We've worked with all the federal agencies, FAA, and it's been determined that we can open that airport safely. The recovery effort that's on our property is on the waterfront. Our primary runway, 119, will be open. It's away from any activity. We're going to have a secure area around that. So all are comfortable that we can get back to operations. Now, each airline will announce or communicate to their passengers what their operations are going to be. Obviously, their networks were disrupted overnight, and so we might have a slow recovery, but the bottom line is we will begin to have aircraft moving in and out of this airport at 11 o'clock.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3.
Has the flight recorder been recovered, the black box at all?
I don't think we can say anything about what's in TSB's purview.
You mentioned the airport opens 3 hours from now. There's a lot of helicopter traffic.
Scorpio.
Over the U.S. Park
Scorpio.
Will helicopters be flying right
How
through here
much?
as well?
Let me get the
beyond
yeah.
the recovery efforts.
Scorpio.
I don't know
I
the
hear
answer
you.
to that. Jack, do you have anything to add? We don't have anything to add about that. Yes.
This is for Secretary Duffy. Can you reassure Americans that the U.S. still has the safest airspace?
I got you, Scorpio. Well, I'll talk to you.
So the
Just
question
give
is,
it a
can I
minute.
guarantee the American flying public that the United States has the most safe and secure airspace in the world? And the answer to that is absolutely, yes, we do.
Yes,
we have
we do.
early indicators of what happened here, and I will tell you with complete confidence, we have the safest airspace in the world.
Okay, what's next?
When it comes to informing these families who've tragically lost their loved ones, what has that looked like so far? Have any of them been informed? The flight manifest, is there any details you can provide on that front?
Tyson, can you add anything?
Oh, no drama.
All I
No,
can say
I'm
is
going to
we
respond to your
have,
sentiment. I
published
understand why
the
you
1-800
feel that way
number.
in this moment.
We have
I'm going to respond to that.
family assistance centers set up here in DCA. We do in Wichita as well. I'm not at liberty to give the number of families that have been that have used those services, but we are making that use. We have over 100 team members that are either here or on their way that are specially trained to work with family members, handle travel arrangements, hotel arrangements, incidentals, to make sure that we're taking care of people in any way that they can. As you know, as our teams are hurting and suffering, and as our passengers and their families need assistance, we're doing everything we can. I don't have any more information on that right now.
Mayor, you're next.
Chief Donnelly, can I ask you to describe the next phase of the investigation? How confident are you that you'll be able to recover all 67 of these bodies? And can you speak to some of the debris that's also being pulled out of the river? We understand there are some suitcases, some other things that have been pulled out from the river. And I would like to ask anyone here, perhaps the Transportation Secretary or Mr. Eisen, if we know anything about these victims, age ranges, nationalities, anything of that nature.
So the next phase of this operation is going to be led by the NTSB. All of us are working together, though, to search the area and to find the victims. I'm confident that we will do that, and that will take us a little bit of time, though. It may involve some more equipment. As far as the things being collected, I don't have personal knowledge. I know that we have been collecting debris that you would expect to see from a plane.
Okay. Anything about the victims?
So so the question is about the victims. The NTSB is going to lead that portion of the contact with the victims. I believe American is going to be involved with that as well, and so will the FAA and the Department of Transportation.
Secretary Duffy, we're going to take some questions over here. 1, 2, 3, 4.
First,
Yep.
for Secretary Duffy, the flight path that the helicopter was on, is that a common flight path, and is it normal for helicopters to get clearance to cut across busy approach paths?
So I don't know if you all could hear the question. It's a question about the flight path of the helicopter. I don't want to go into too much detail about the information we have from the FAA, but obviously it is not standard to have aircraft collide. I want to be clear on that. But prior to the collision, the flight paths that were being flown from the military and from American, that was not unusual for what happens in the DC airspace. And as this investigation moves forward, we will be able to provide more information to you about the details of that statement.
I wanted to follow up on that question regarding the flight path, because you said it's standard. So can you speak to the conversations with the air traffic control? Were there blind spots here? I don't know if you can expand.
So the question is, were there blind spots with air traffic control? I don't want to make statements about that. I don't lead into that answer. But again, I think whether it was air traffic control, whether it was military aircraft, helicopters, or the American flight, everything was standard in the lead up to the crash. Now, obviously, something happened here. You'll get more information and more details as this investigation moves forward. We'll learn what happened. But again, those who live in the DC area, we see military helicopters fly up and down the river. It's a standard path that they fly. They're used to aircraft landing at DCA, and there's a procedure in place because this happens every day. Something went wrong here. I look forward to the time and point when we can give you that information, but I don't want to comment on that right now.
Okay, next.
Senator Payne, Senator Warner, you all have been, very vocal about your concerns about busy runways here, air traffic. I know it's still early in the investigation. I'm just curious if any steps that you all plan to take to address that.
We have raised this issue continuously. We've got very busy airspace. I think we will ask questions, but at the appropriate time. We are in this period right now where families are still being notified. We're trying to figure out what happened. There'll be time for those discussions.
Yes, Paul.
Yeah, I'd just say the same
the
thing.
U.S.
We've been
the
pretty
U.S.
plain
figure
about our
skating team is
concerns,
on
but
the aircraft.
It isn't a good time to speculate right now. We have faith that the NTSB will provide the
Yes,
answers
that's true.
about this.
I know the U.S. skating team
And
was
I'm
on
gonna
there.
take
They
three
were
in the middle,
competing
and
in
then
my
we're gonna
state
have to wrap.
yesterday.
1, 2, 3 after this young man.
Thank you, appreciate it. Chief, I know, again, I can imagine it must be traumatic for your first responders to have to deal with this. How are they doing right now, and are you all going to be offering any services to help them as they process this?
So thank you for the question. Our first responders are resilient people, but yes, this call will be hard for them. Our peer support teams are already engaged with the responders, and we'll be following up on that to make sure that they're okay. But I think the concern is real.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Barry. What kind of communication was there between the helicopter and the tower, the plane and the tower, and the helicopter and the plane?
I don't want to say too much on the communication between the helicopter and the tower and the airline and the tower, but I will say this: there was communication. It was, I would say, standard communication. So there was not a breakdown, if that's your question, in communication between the military helicopter and the American airline flight. There was communication between the aircraft and the tower.
Was the plane aware there was a helicopter in the area?
I would say the helicopter was aware that there was a plane in the area.
You mentioned that.
So the president, you said yesterday that he called into the briefing room. Has he returned to the briefing room since then? Have you spoken? Also, a question about the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz. He's saying that there was 30 bodies that have been recovered. That he just said that at the White House. Curious. I know you're in this presser right now, so that's hard for you to update. But I do have the question posed in the briefing room.
I can do the body question first. So in terms of body recovery, we as we recover bodies, we have a process, and we're not counting any bodies until they're in the possession of the medical director. So there may be some fluctuating in numbers that other people would report, but our numbers from the medical examiner.
So just in regard to the president in the briefing room, I've been with this team for the last hour plus as we've worked through the details of the information we wanted to give you.
64 people were on the plane, and 3 people were on the Black Hawk.
The Situation Room, or the Situation Room is obviously briefing the president. He has been kept in full appraisal of what is taking place.
Okay, last two, you and you ma'am, first.
You mentioned that the aircraft were on a standard flight pattern. Just curious, when the airport opens at 11 today, will planes...
We found love in a hopeless place. We found love in an open...
Sorry, I can't do anything about those interruptions.
Well, I mean, safety is paramount, and I don't have that information quite yet from the FAA, so I don't want to provide an information I don't want to provide an answer or inaccurate information on what routes will be flown out of.
When y'all say distraction, I would like to know what you all mean.
Two questions really quickly. What do you know about the
A distraction.
history of the pilot?
I'm gonna have to do a video on people walking, chewing bubble gum, and multiple things at the same time. I don't even know what that means. It irritates me, and I need to know.
And question why air traffic control didn't tell a helicopter what to do. Is that something that investigators have determined should have happened in this situation?
So I can quickly, Secretary. Just quickly, I don't have a lot of information to release, but these are experienced pilots. I know that the captain had 6 years with PSA, or almost 6 years at PSA, and the first officer almost 2 years. Again, standard approach, and that's all.
If I wasn't afraid of waking up from snatchers before they had to go to bed.
In regard to the military, I
I'd
don't
cuss
have information in regard to the experience of the military pilots. I would just note that this was classified as a training mission. Sometimes people could think that a training mission is someone who is inexperienced in the cockpit. We call these missions that are flown in the D.C. area, as our pilots are getting hours in experience, training missions. So don't read into that we had how many hours the pilots on the military aircraft had. And you had another question for me that was.
Last night, the president had said that this could be prevented, and also that air traffic control, questioning why they may not have communicated with the helicopter, telling them what to do.
So we are going to wait for all the information to come in from this vantage point, but to back up what the president said, what I've seen so far, do I think this was preventable? Absolutely.
It's not an answer.
Is there an acting FAA director?
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. I don't know how much more of that I could have took before I had to start cussing. But yeah, I didn't even plan to do any comment to show it. But yeah, let's address a couple of things, because it never fails to amaze me in the middle of a tragedy how somebody can say, because we are talking about it, that it is a distraction. There are 67 people dead. There are 67 people dead. There are hundreds of people mourning the loss of their loved ones, not just in my state, but across the country. And a distraction from what? That's what I would fucking like to know. Grand Rising nephew. A distraction from what? Does that mean that they're not? I just released 4 videos on my page about things that are going on besides this, because I don't talk about things until I have details. So what exactly are we distracted from? Are we distracted from anything that this orange bulimic has said in the White House? Are y'all distracted from the fact that in the Sudan, the bombing took place yesterday? Are you distracted from the children dying in the Congo or Haiti? Who is distracted? Are you distracted from the fact that we've been withdrawn from the World Health Organization, and in Kansas we had the third largest outbreak of tuberculosis in this country's history, and we're going through it right now? What in the fuck am I distracted from? What? What? What am I distracted from? Your dog shit in your yard this morning and I didn't know about it. What are we distracted from? I'm so tired of your goddamn conspiracy theories every time something happens, and you haul on this magical high horse talking about just because we mention it or acknowledge it that we're distracted. And what does that even mean? Grand Rising, Steve. That we are being censored. Right. I just want to know. Now, back to you. Thank you. Right. Scorpio, real quick. I understand exactly where you're coming from in this moment, because I understand that, yeah, we all know the statistics on flying, and it had nothing to do with that. If I'm wrong, correct me, but I think your sentiment is also faced. Administration has put a hiring freeze that affects air traffic controls. My father was an air traffic controller. So affects air traffic controllers because they're not hiring any new ones. So that means, are we thinking that the air traffic controllers that are on duty might be overworked and they need replacements, so they're not getting any anytime soon? Plus, into that mix, we throw the present climate in this country. So it's not a fear of flying statistically, it's a fear of flying under the present restrictions that are being caused by this administration's policies. If I was wrong, please correct me, but I think that's more the sentiment that we were trying to get. And I also And I know sometimes we mean well. I'm a statistical guy, but I have also am a human guy. And I also understand that in the face of tragedy, let people grieve. We can talk about the statistics on the other side of the tragedy, but that in that moment, it doesn't change anything to say it's safer to drive than it is to fly. Because in that moment, we're not talking about a traffic jam or a traffic pileup. We're talking about, we're trying to wrap our mind around the idea that a helicopter crashed into a small commercial plane and 67 people are dead. And like I said, for me, it hits home because this is my state. I live in Kansas now. And and I, the same, I had just been talking. I'm a sports. Anybody knows me knows I love all kinds of sports, right? And I had just been talking in my live a couple of days about the U.S. skating team being here in Kansas, and to know that several of those members are dead now in this airplane crash. Greetings, greetings. What's up, brother? My brother works at the Pentagon, by the way. Greetings and salutations, my brother that works at the Pentagon. Yeah, I always throw that in there because, it's nice to have a brother that works at the Pentagon. um, okay. Yeah, but I'm just saying, we gotta stop. We just gotta stop with this. Every time somebody talks about something, and you think it, because I'm gonna tell you, if you think we're distracted from something, go make a video about it. Because I see these people make these comments, and they don't even have any content on their page. Go make a video about it. Draw some attention to it. Draw some attention to it. Because even if I talk about everything I know that's going on, there's only so many hours in the day, and since you all don't support my lifestyle, like eating, I do have to make sure I do something that, I don't have the option, like some people, to spend 12 hours a day on social media. Um, but I try to cover, and that's my coworker flying that CRJ. Really? So you lost a coworker too, Stephen? Grand rising, my brother. Nobody free until the Sudan and the Congo are free. And that's why I say people will come in here and talk about distractions, but I never see them talk about those things. What's going on in Haiti? What's going on? No, we can do all of it. Yeah, there's no distraction. I don't get distracted when I'm walking my dog and reading at the same time and also aware of my surroundings. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what y'all be meaning. So that just seems condolences to you, Steve, for on the loss of your coworker. Also, so sad. I mean, so bad for those who perished and their families. Yes, it is. Like I say, that's the part that gets me in this moment. In this moment, this is not like someone. These people did not sign up for this. They did not sign up for this. And I do say, I get frustrated with press conferences because I feel like the questions that are asked in this moment is like they're trying to, everybody's trying to deny blame, or they're trying to shift blame instead of focusing on the fact that there are 64 dead people and families are grieving. And how do we help those families to grieve? Because there's going to be investigation at nauseum. Y'all can point fingers at least 24 hours. Can you wait 24 hours before you try to start pointing fingers at people? All people want to know is how do we contact you all to know if our loved ones are deceased and if their bodies have been recovered. That's all we want to really, that's all these families want to hear. That's all they want to hear at this moment because that's all I want to hear. I will deal with blame later, and trust me, that could be later. But as at this moment, people want to know where their friends and families are, if they're safe or if they're not. So he has also fired the head of NLRA as well. Yes, I feel so bad for those who perished and their families. Yes, and that's my focus. Like I say, there's so many things I could say politically and all that, but right now, I just need to know those of y'all who have lost loved ones. that you know that we are grieving with you, because this we'll assign blame later. Because at the end of the day, even finding the blame doesn't bring back any of these 67 people who lost their lives. What we find out tomorrow or in a few hours is still not going to bring back what happened. It doesn't. It does not change what is happening. And if you feel, and you're allowed to feel any way you want to right now. You're allowed to feel any way you want to, anytime you want to, really. But you're allowed to feel scared, frightened, because you don't know any information. You're allowed to take precautions in the way you feel you need to take precautions for yourself and your sanity. That is perfectly okay and acceptable. And acceptable. Because, you have to deal with that. You have to deal with how you feel about it. And as more information becomes available and more time passes, that normalcy might come back. I travel with the Fight Pass every day. I just don't understand how this happened. Right. You're right, Jay. You travel it every day and don't understand how it happens. So understand how people who don't travel it every day feel. This is one of those cases where your feelings are valid. And it's coming from somebody that's a logical thinker as I am. Y'all know who I am. I'll tell facts of what I do. But in this case, right now, in these hours, this is not something you want to wake up and hear. You don't want to wake up and hear it. You don't want to wake up and deal with it. Especially if you have a flight out of somewhere today. Just think about the people that are at Reagan International Airport. Well, will be there at 11 o'clock, flying out, how they would feel. So, in this case, yeah. And then into that, the lack of information that we do know, yes, it is unnerving. It is. So let's just think about that. Let's think about that going forth in the future when we deal with these kind of things, because I don't expect everybody to handle it like I do. Because, okay. What I did find out is that either the halo or the hello was on the wrong frequency, but still, and that's the thing. I know the helicopter was on a contact frequency because they have released audio between the tower and the helo. They released information on that. And like I say, we have all kinds of questions. I do. I saw the video. I watched the video. It didn't. It wasn't. It didn't seem. The problem was it didn't seem like either one of the craft were malfunctioning. It wasn't a sudden drop. It was like they were both on a course they were used to, and at that time the course was occupied. It just didn't seem. I wish these families to be wrapped in love. Will you be covering the migrants at Guantanamo Bay? Yes, I will, Paula, I will, because that's really blowing me too. The idea that our government is considering open, taking, and it still is a minuscule number compared to the millions they say they want to deport, but taking 30,000 migrants and stuffing them into Gitmo is is horrible. It's horrible. Even but yes, the idea that we're going to put migrants, that we're going to put anyone. I know a lot of people don't understand the history of Gitmo and how much we've created future problems that with Gitmo, but the idea of putting migrants in Gitmo until their process to determine their status is terrifying, because I guarantee you, people, not in Gitmo, Scorpion, Scorpio, there are no free labor in Gitmo. They don't go. It's not like they go out and work in the Cuban countryside like they do in prisons here. But 30,000, that is just torture. I have no. I have a documentary I will show on Gitmo, doing conversations with TNathan one day. But no, that is, it doesn't even begin. No, it's not free labor. They don't go anywhere and work, make any products. The no, Gitmo is a whole different animal. And I said this before. We thought the cages in America was scandalous. Waiting to get more stores right, or, or wait till they don't come out, or wait till they don't come out. Yeah, but I'm going to talk about. I mean, free labor in the future. My son believes that is where they're heading in the future. I understand the idea. I understand what you all mean when y'all say free labor, but I don't think you think it all the way through because it's not free labor. It's the labor, unless you're just counting. Even the people that are giving it, are it's costing them their blood, their sweat, their tears, and even the people that are housing it, it's costing. I understand the concept though, but we'll get into more of that later. Um, I don't like, if you know me, you know I hate cliches because they're never real, they're never true. They're just things that people get used to saying and thinking there's some truth in them. So I usually deconstruct cliches just for the hell of it. Hilo is somewhere undocumented. Yeah, Gitmo is somewhere. And it's the idea that they're putting, my thing with Gitmo is not anything. My thing with Gitmo is they're going to sweep, just like where they've been sweeping up Americans and indigenous people in these sweeps until they, and fingerprint them and all that. Yeah, some people are going to get caught up in that. And they're going to, do you understand that there are people in Gitmo now that have never been convicted of a crime? Never been convicted of a crime, and they're still there or dead. They're just last place of residence, Gitmo. And by Gitmo not being on American soil, it's in Cuba, which I find the idea that Cuba even allows this staggering. But it's in Cuba, so there's no constitutional guarantees in Cuba, especially for non Americans or people that are termed non Americans. Yeah. So that's where we are on that. Like, but tune in tonight. We'll talk about it. I'll talk about it some more as more details. Okay, it's officially been stated that there are no survivors in the mid-air collision. I didn't want to say that. I felt it, but they just said 27 victims have been recovered from the passenger jet and one from the helicopter. And in the 8 hours, and the water is just above freezing in the Potomac, and they haven't recovered anybody alive. So at this point, it's transitioning from a rescue operation to a recovery operation. So, and they have not had due process. Right. So you all join me later. Um, and I'll have more information on this. If anything breaking comes up, if they find a survivor, I will come back and give updated information. Um, but you can find videos on my page. I will be talking about it, and if not that, um, yeah, we'll recap tonight. Any questions before I go? Yeah, I know y'all got to get to your usual morning morning TikTok shows, but I just wanted to cut in and bring some relevant information. I have to catch up to you on my research. 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Time on Conversations with TNathan, my simulcast radio show. I cast it all across the platforms you see me on right now. You should be able to see me on Instagram right now, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, and X. I am back on X. So, yeah, I will be broadcasting tonight at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Time. And for those of y'all who are asking about my baby, I don't know why y'all don't know she's right there. She's always, yeah, she's not letting me get too far away from her. I have a mind like yours. Seek the truth. Right. Yeah. And prepare for more knowledgeable conversations. Yes. Right. So I'll let you all get on to what you all usually do this time of morning. Is your baby in the bed? Because mine are in the bed, and people make fun of me. Oh, what's there to make fun of? I'll fight over mine. I'll fight over mine. I don't know what they're making fun of. They make fun from a distance. Like I say, make fun. I don't care what you say. This is her house. Yeah, Pinky and Bella run this house. Yeah, we just pay the bills here. They run it. All right. Like I say, once again, thanks for joining us, and I'll keep you all posted throughout the day if anything else becomes available, or if any more breaking news comes up. You can always, if I'm live,